Don't panic if the axle is broken. 8 Iron skills have a magic formula. The splicing of a flower is wonderful. The repair technology is amazing. In order to repair his broken half axle, the owner had to ride his beloved Mengdang 125 to Peshawar. Although the fracture position of this half axle is tricky, the repair master said that it can be repaired quickly in order to improve the strength of the fracture position. This time, we will use the silver flower grafting method to repair. Before the repair, they will first use the roll paper to measure the overall length of the half axle, and then use the cardboard to measure the thickness of this piece of yuan-gong. This piece of yuan-gong is used to make up for the fracture position. If the fracture position is directly welded, the concentricity cannot be controlled well, and the firmness between the two cannot be ensured. At this time, what the master has to do is to cut off the fracture position of the half axle blue plate, because only in this way can the yuan-gong used to make up or it be spliced on. The master progressed very quickly in this process and quickly cut off the fracture position in the middle because the surface is very uneven after cutting. The master needs to perform detailed cutting until it is cut to the standard. In order to improve the overall firmness of the joint, they will use the tong knife to cut the thread inside the inner diameter. This process is completed very quickly on the flange end after a series of operations. Then you can process the avermetal used to make up for the broken position. First, the master needs to process the positive table to facilitate the splicing of the processed flange end. When processing, the master uses the size of the flange end as a reference and cuts it by feeling. The avermetal has quickly cut out the rough outline. Then use the caliper to make detailed measurements. After ensuring that there is no problem with the size, he only needs to. After the thread cutting is completed, you only need to splice the flange into place and then use electric welding to perform detailed welding and fixation. The diameter of the avermetal on the other side of the flange end is still very large. In order to facilitate splicing it to the broken elbow, it is also necessary to perform detailed cutting and cutting. After slowly cutting, gradually process the small cylinder to the appropriate size. The flange end has been processed quickly after the master's careful operation. Then the broken elbow can be processed. The flange end has been used to make up the length. After the elbow is heated and annealed to reduce its hardness, it can be carefully cut and cut. Then use different types of twist drills to open. In order to ensure the accuracy of the size, it is necessary to use a tong knife for careful cutting. Since the joint will be welded later, what the master needs to do is to cut a gap on the end face. After this section is processed, the final assembly and splicing can be carried out. The elbow and flange end are spliced. The master uses a sledgehammer to carefully knock. Now it has been spliced quickly. The master only needs to. The splicing of the flange end has been welded quickly after a lot of hard welding. The joint of the elbow and the flange is connected. The efficiency of the 8th level welding bow is also very high. After all the joints are welded, you can use the lathe tool for detailed cutting. The internal welding needs to be cut flat for the blue bricks welded on the outside. At this time, a tractor half shaft that was broken into 2 halves was gradually repaired by the master's extremely white-faced operation. What do you think of this repair method? If there are 10 points, how many points are you willing to give?